Welcome to Business Authority Radio, bringing you insights from today's thought leaders, professionals, and influencers. With your hosts, Neil Howe and Craig Williams.
Welcome to another episode of Business Authority Radio. My name is Craig Williams, and I have Stantisha Kemp, CPA, founder and CEO of Kemp Accounting, enriching leaders to grow through innovation, education, and strategy. Ms. Kemp, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, want to just start right at the beginning and go into your story. You're here serving businesses and individuals of different professions. The most important part of any business, and that's the bottom line, the accountability, hence accounting. Being a CPA is another level of accounting. I'm sure we'll learn a little bit more about that in this conversation as well. But I really want to hear the how, the why, and the what of what you do here at Kemp Accounting, but really the story behind the how and the what. So take it away.
All right. Well, again, thanks for having me. And we're just going to jump right to it. So the how I got here is quite interesting because I did not aspire to become an accountant. I started my career very early. I'm originally from New York. And so I went to high school in New York, one of the top business high schools there at the time. And I was in my junior year and got an intern at Ogilvy & Mather, which is one of the largest advertising companies in the world at the time. And once I graduated, they offered me a perm position as an accounts payable supervisor. So I gladly took that position, and I decided to continue on working in the accounting field, mostly for the money. Again, still not intrigued by the profession, but the dollars made sense to me. I started college, and what college student was making $30,000, $40,000 a year at that age. So again, I was chasing the money, not necessarily the profession. And I was probably in my junior year of college, and I was working at Arizona Iced Tea at the time. And someone said to me, "You are really excelling in this accounting profession. You need to change your major to accounting," because I was a business major, and that you need to get your CPA. And I laughed.
Yeah, that's interesting. You were in a broad business, and somebody saw in you that you needed to focus on a niche. There was something about your character or something that said, hey, this is your lane.
Yes.
That's interesting. The influence that they had on your decision.
And they were very persistent about it at the time. But I laughed. I didn't take it serious. And I chose business because I knew I wanted to be a businesswoman. But when someone asked me, well, what does that mean? I don't know. I just know I want to be a businesswoman.
Gotcha.
And so I chose to be a business major. But eventually, as I continued to grow in my profession, I knew I had to switch gears and get that accounting degree because my career was growing and excelling quite well in it. I was making a lot of money, moving up the ranks, working for great companies. So it was about time for me to get it. And by my mid to late 20s, I started really studying a lot to prepare for the CPA. So fast forwarding a little bit, we moved here in Atlanta about 11 years ago now. And I really moved here because I watched a lot of HGTV. So I used to watch the shows and see all of these beautiful homes in the sunny side of town. And coming from New York where it was cold, at that time I lived in Connecticut, actually. And Connecticut is a little gray and gloomy. And I kept saying, where are they? Where are they? Why is it so nice there?
Yeah.
I don't want to live here. Where are they? And one day I decided to move to Atlanta.
The power of media and its influence.
I tell you, I was so desperate about it. So I asked my husband, I said, how do you feel about moving to Atlanta? And he was just like, oh, heck to the no. That was his words verbatim.
Okay.
And so I, being a stubborn woman that I am,
You persisted.
I persistent, very persistent. I found us a broker, and I found this house. And I said, I found this house, and I signed the papers. But you have to sign, so we have to go. And he's looking like, what? So we get on a plane. I said, if you don't like it, you don't have to sign, and then we'll just like leave the deal alone. So we get to Atlanta, and as soon as we get into the rental, Ludacris had a song out, "Welcome to Atlanta, where the players play," or something. And my husband said, "Okay, I think that's sign number one." So I said, "Wait till you see the house." And he sees the house. It was a model house because we had our home built, so it was a model house. And if anyone knows New York real estate, this conference room we're in, which is probably about a 13 by 13 or something, that's about the size of an apartment there.
Yeah.
So my bedroom was probably bigger than our apartment in New York. So he saw our bedroom and he said, "This is it. We're moving."
Awesome.
And we ended up here in Atlanta. And so when I came down, I started working with Southern Associations, which is a nonprofit that manages all of the accreditations for all the schools here, K through 12 and college. And I was a controller there. And so I continued to work, but it wasn't quite a good fit for me. Mm-hmm. So I moved on, and I started working for myself, and I started Kemp Accounting.
Wow.
And
so this was after you got your CPA.
So I was not a CPA yet.
Oh, okay.
I was not a CPA yet. I had my accounting degree though. I did switch gears and did get my accounting degree, but I had not got my CPA yet. I actually didn't get my CPA until I was pregnant with my daughter. So that was about 8 years ago. And it took me some time because life happens and one day rolls into another. And when you're kind of a controller, life just really happens. The days are long and the days are fast. But anywho, I started my career at my firm and was building things. But while I was doing that, I switched to another company that I started working with, a medical device company, and I was a controller there. Where my career really started to grow it was time to kick off my peanut butter and jelly budget. And yes, that's what I call it.
Gotcha.
Peanut butter and jelly.
So they have envelopes and then they have jars, but you have the peanut butter and jelly.
I have the peanut butter and jelly budget. If I did not need it, I did not get it. It was really, we survived off of a peanut butter and jelly budget. And I also created this concept called my $1 million plan. And so what that was it was, how do I become a millionaire? And it was really just for fun. But what was interesting, in 3 years, my husband and I, we ended up saving about $800,000.
Wow.
Off of this peanut butter and jelly budget. So with that, at that time I was working as a controller. I had a nonprofit. I had another business where I was consulting, and I had my firm. And they all were doing extremely well. It was like everything I was touching was turning to gold. I kid you not. It was just an impeccable season. Yeah. I say the best 3 years at that time, just everything I touched was just turning into cash. Yeah. And so we saved up that money, and my husband and I decided, let's open up a restaurant. So this is when the story gets good. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So we opened up this restaurant. It was a fine dining restaurant out in Sandy Springs off of Roswell Road. Great restaurant, piano bar. Had a lot of great people come through. The restaurant actually was an office space. So we actually had to convert it into a restaurant. So you can imagine the cost to that. About $300,000 in, we get a phone call from our marketing director that says, you need to come here. The guys are not working. So my husband and I rushed there. I said, what's going on? We cannot find the contractor and no one's been paid. So everyone's annoyed, pissed. And my husband is beyond upset. And so we start trying to find this guy, including going to his home. We go to the police. He has taken off with over $300,000 of our money. So my husband and I sit in this empty restaurant looking at each other, wondering, what are we going to do? And so he says, do we cut our losses and just walk away? And I look and I say, we're going to do this. We can make it work. Let's roll up our sleeves. We'll finish it. Let's do it. We talked to the employees, and they were willing to work with us, and we made it happen.
Wow.
However, part one of the lesson was we opened up this restaurant on E, because all of the remaining cash we had went to finish and make up for the monies that were gone.
Yeah. So that was 600 or 800,000 that you saved in 3 years.
We saved about $800,000+.
Okay. So that leaves you close to about 5.
Right.
Interesting.
And so, but this is a project. It was about, I think this was about a 10,000 square feet space. It was a pretty big space. So that was a lot of construction. And, but we got it open. Great grand opening. Well, we were on E.
Yeah.
So the money we made was what took care of operating.
Yeah.
Well, it's not complicated math. How can you survive if you don't make any money that day?
Yeah.
Anyone who knows the restaurant business or even have any idea, it's a very cyclical and fickle business.
Yeah.
You can be busy today and dry tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we experienced.
Wow.
So in our dry days, we couldn't afford to pay people operating costs, overhead, because we did not have a starting capital.
Now, you were still running these other businesses at the same time, or did you close?
I had left all of my other businesses once the incident happened.
Gotcha.
Because now the restaurant needed my full attention.
Yeah. So the risk required your complete involvement.
So I was completely involved.
Yeah.
Firm was on pause. I stopped all of the other businesses. Everything was on pause.
But the mindset of an accountant and CPA was still present.
Yes, but hold that mindset thought, because that mindset it'll play out in a little bit. So we kept the project going. The restaurant's open and it's doing fine, but we can't always meet our overhead costs. So we had to start terminating some folks, but we had some key people. And some of these key folks were people that were a part of our other ventures, our other business engagements. And they worked with us pretty much since we were here. So there was more than, I think, a work relationship. It was like we took them on as family. They took us on as family.
They shared the why.
They shared the why. They shared the passion. They shared the vision. And then there were times where we said, we're going to have to close up shop if things don't change. And no, we're here. We're fighting with you. You know, they were in it. They felt the grit. And, you know, we fought hard. Well, you know, you're fighting hard and you're watching things just kind of not happen. I remember one day sitting in the restaurant, we can't afford to pay things. And I watched my truck get repoed right from the restaurant, And my team saw that and they would come and it's going to be all right. You're going to get it back. Don't worry. We're here. Well, we have to meet payroll. And I actually had to pawn a lot of my prized possessions to meet payroll.
Yeah.
And I remember one day coming back to the restaurant, and I was in tears.
Which was your home?
Which was my second home.
Your second home, yeah.
There were nights we had to stay there because who was driving back and forth. But that night, you know, I came in, I was in tears. I had pawned my wedding ring to salvage this restaurant. And I was devastated. And I remember specifically someone saying, which was one of my teams, "You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to get through this. This is okay. We're here. We're here. This is going to work. This is a great concept. We got this far. You're going to be fine." And of course, through this whole process, my husband, the greatest cheerleader, that's one of the blessings that I count, that through all of this, not once did we ever argue. And we know money is the key thing to divorce, and we never, ever had an argument about it, not even once.
Wow.
But so now let's kind of fast forward a little bit. With all that fight, with all that sacrifice, we have to close up. I don't think it was a week later that someone called me and said, "You're on the news." I'm on the news? What? Someone was on the news saying I didn't pay them. The someone that was on the news that said I didn't pay them was the same someone who was my right hand with all my other business endeavors, who said, "We're going to be okay."
Wow.
And I don't know, at that point, that took a lot of things out of me.
Mm.
And I went through somewhat of a depression phase. I don't think my husband knows that, but I kind of went through a depression phase for like 6 months. Now, when you said that was the CPA or the accountant in me, that attributed to my hurt and pain, because I felt of all the people who had went through that, how can I call myself an accountant, a CPA who has advised, who has built other businesses, who has been this accounting mogul for these years, get into this bind?
Yeah.
I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I felt like my integrity just totally went down the drain. Everything that I worked for was now worthless.
Mm.
And how can I get up from that? This whole restaurant was like the pitfall of everything that I worked for.
Yeah.
And so I went through a depression. I didn't answer my phone. I cleared out my phone. I kept 3 people in my phone book: my sister, my hairstylist, who also was a really good friend of mine, and my realtor, who also was a good friend of mine. Everyone else I deleted.
Mm.
And I started to get rid of the entire phone, but something in me just didn't. And it was my realtor who kept saying to me, "This is your story. You know you. This is your story." Now, when she used to say that to me, I used to sit there and say, "Yeah, okay, but it would go over my head. And she just used to keep saying that. "This is your story. Look at all of the successful people. They have a story. This is your story. Don't you get it? You're going to be writing about this one day. This is your story."
Yeah.
And I used to just like let it roll off. And so eventually, I decided to get off my knees and off my sob story, and I went back to work. And I because of my background and my skill set, I was able to get another good job. Got back on the peanut butter and jelly. And eventually we, about a few more years later, maybe 2 to 3 years later, saved up again. Didn't hit quite the 800, but we hit some good numbers.
Yeah.
And got the firm back alive. And here we are with the firm. I mean, it was just when the firm established. Well, I want to go back one step. Before the firm really became where we are today, I worked with a company who I was their regional controller. So I handled 3 other divisions. And one day I was sitting in the office because I worked a lot of late nights, 10:30, 11 o'clock nights, and then get up 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, do it all over again. And one night I was sitting in the office and I was leaning back. And when I was leaning back, I can look outside and I saw the name of the company, which happened to be the owner's name. And I said, "Why am I still here? That's not my name." And it was at that point that I started to thinking, it's time to go.
Yeah.
I have a firm. That could be my name. Why am I?
You're doing the same work. Yeah. You're putting in the same energy,
labor.
but yeah.
And we've been here before. We've been down this road. So that's when I started saying it's time to get the firm back going. And so I eventually put in a resignation for that and got the firm back, got back focused with the firm. And here we are.
I would assume that you've been a little bit more intentional this go around than you were before. Is there a focus of client that you deal with, having gone through where you are? You're not dealing with the startups. You're dealing with people who are seasoned like yourself, having gone through the ebbs and flow of life and business.
Yes.
Did that affect your choosing who you were going to position yourself to serve going forward?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because you have buckets.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a bucket of people who have never tapped into the entrepreneur world.
Mm-hmm.
So they're oblivious to a lot of the risks.
Mm-hmm.
So they need me. But then you have people who are aces in their craft. Mm-hmm. And they decide to venture and things happen and they have these same stories. They need me too.
Gotcha.
So I think there's just buckets, but no, I have not shied myself from one bucket to another. I feel like
you're here for humanity.
I have an opportunity to help you, then I'm going to help you.
Awesome. Tell me this, what is the biggest challenges that you see now that used to be challenge? I mean, in the past, it's interesting as you grow older and you experience more in life, what our challenges now weren't even fathomable. You couldn't fathom in your head that you would be dealing with these types of challenges years ago. And now the challenges that you look back on that you thought you had are like child's play, right? What are some of those challenges that you deal with now?
Well, honestly, my biggest challenge was dealing with that story.
Your past.
Dealing with my past, embracing it.
Wow.
Even till this day, it takes a lot to tell that story. And I never, you hear successful people tell their story because we all have one. Yeah. And you just kind of listen to it and you're like, okay. But what I've learned is that's not easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's an integrity thing that goes along with all of this. And so, again, it goes back to, validating your integrity. And that story sometimes takes you back to where you are always concerned, how can this affect or not affect my integrity?
Yeah.
So it's always being confident to embrace that story, which is probably my biggest challenge. Because honestly, it's that story that made me who I am, even as we sit right now.
Wow.
Every day makes you who you are, right?
Yeah.
But that was a point in my life as a businesswoman. People have asked me all the time, well, would you do that again? Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Do you know what I have learned to that? Of course I would, in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because I am that much wiser, that much stronger. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I get it. But it's still something that you become somewhat hesitant to share a story that is never there was no good outcome at that time for me.
At that time.
Yeah.
The story wasn't over.
Right.
Yeah, because you're still in the midst of the story.
That.
Yeah.
And I'm a child of, I have
a person of faith.
A person of faith. And it was that faith that I had to let go and really just say, this is you. I don't know what.
This is as far as I can get it.
As far as I can go.
It's
on
you.
I don't know why I'm supposed to get out of all of this. But I have no more in me to keep fighting something. Yeah. And the minute I did that, things started turning. I started meeting certain people. I was introduced to different people. And quite frankly, I was concerned that my name was jeopardized and tarnished. And all of the people that mattered, either A, never even came across it, or if they did, they embraced it.
Yeah, they resonated with, your human being. And that's the part that the transparency part is how we deal with humility and accept the love that people have for us as individuals and human beings anyways. Yes. So it's usually a self-love that we're bouting with, and a we're not forgiving ourselves for that mistake. And we're our biggest critic. So that's powerful to hear a story that, you're encouraging me to hurry up and get more of my stories out. I'm always in front of someone else and their story, but to continue to push past the past, be present with the present so that you can embrace the future is I would say, it's appropriate that an accountant is presenting this to the world in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, we're more than just nerds with numbers.
Yeah. So, one of the advantages of, and I see, like I said said earlier, enriching leaders to grow through innovation, education, and strategy. There's dimensions to who you are and how you serve. So it's not, like you said, there's just not one type of person that you serve. You're open to the possibilities that you can have with humanity, and it is business. At the same time, you're servicing a need that propels business, and that is the bottom line, the numbers.
Yes,
and that's what defines a business as opposed to a non-for-profit.
Yes,
yeah.
But they need
revenues.
That's right.
It's just that it's not for profit.
It's not for profit.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, they say they have the same goals.
Yes,
they need to see an increased bottom line.
Most definitely. I'm looking at a list of 12 people of affluence in your life, and it's very impressive. I'm not going to go down because it's your personal list. Okay. But as I said earlier, there seems to be a consistency in the theme of person, and these are people who serve other people. And I found that very interesting. Accountants aren't considered public servants, but that's basically what you do. You serve the public, whether it be individuals or businesses. What do you see that's on the horizon for Kemp Accounting? And is there an opportunity? Is it? Are you going to scale it, or is this your baby that you're going to keep like it is? And it's
No, we're absolutely looking to scale it. And quite frankly, we are really looking to engage on a huge platform with
national, maybe.
Absolutely. Atlanta is our home, so of course we definitely want to have a huge presence here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
But New York is my second home, so who knows what may happen there.
Yeah.
But definitely want to evolve.
Like an East Coast thing. Yeah.
Oh no, my son's thinking UCLA, so if he
okay,
there,
from the east to the west, I hear you.
But very importantly, as you mentioned about serving, we are huge when it comes to helping individuals, whether they're just starting out or they have been in the game for many years, and in various facets. One of the things we look to work with are our youths, so your seniors and college students. Those are your new generations who are the new CEOs. My son, like I said, is a freshman at college right now, and I'm teaching him to think like a CEO right now. Regardless to what career you choose, you're always a businessman or woman.
So you're dealing with not individuals just trying to do their taxes. These are people who have ventured out to go into business for themselves.
Oh yes. The taxes are the and then some. That's what we do to make sure that you're paying your dues, basically.
Yeah.
That we keep Uncle Sam happy.
Yeah.
But the meat is in the business and the growth of the economics. And so we are definitely trying to work with various businesses, individuals to, as the mission states, to innovate, and grow leaders through strategy and education. Education is key. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they don't know how to get from point A to point B because they know their craft, they know their scope, they know their business, they know their market. But how do we articulate that through the numbers? Mm-hmm. And so we want to just make sure that we are not only just delivering a financial report, that we're working with them strategically on how to meet the ultimate objectives creatively and competitively. We're also, like I said, we're trying to embrace a lot of this knowledge to our rising entrepreneurs who are in college. One thing I have to say, and I may be calling some firms out there, but as an African-American CPA firm, when I thought about another African-American CPA firm who is doing it right now, and I'm just saying doing it from a financial, from a visibility perspective, I couldn't really come up with any. And I pulled up the top 25 firms in Atlanta, and I didn't really see any African-American firms. Yeah. And I had a personal issue with that. So there's a place and a need, because you have students who are going to HBCUs, you have students who are going to non-HBCUs who are aspiring accountants, African-American, and who are their mentors?
Yeah. Where are they going to go when they complete? Yeah.
And there's places for them to go, but why don't we, this day and age, do not have an African-American CPA firm that's prominent enough to step up and say, we coach you and hold you by keep you close and near, and make sure that you're getting the guidance and steps you need to excel in your
culture. Culture is very important, especially when it does deal with finances. There's a lot to be said about why it's not, and there's a lot to be said why there is. And I think we're talking about why there is. It's because you choose for it to be.
Yes.
And we definitely appreciate your contribution to the whole. I mean, being a young lady and a minority as well, it's very important that all cultures see that. Tell us how we can get in touch with you. How can the audience find Stantisha, Kemp, and Kemp Accounting? Social media, phone numbers. This will be in the show notes as well, but share with the audience how we can get in touch with you.
Well, we are located in the Cobb area off of near the New Braves Stadium, 280 Interstate North, Circle, Southeast, Atlanta, Georgia, 30331, Suite 325. And that's right next to the New Braves Stadium. So you can...
The SunTrust,
Yeah, so you can have a lot of fun while you come and see us. Our website is www.kempaccounting.com. You definitely can put your inquiries there, and we will be glad to service you. We work, as we said, with businesses of various magnitudes in the small business areas, from startups to 100 million in revenue.
Wow.
Servicing various industries, from your entertainment industries, manufacturing, professional services, medical. We work with many different industries. And when you are working with us, we definitely take pride that you're just not bringing on a CPA, but you have just basically added to your team without all that added extra cost.
Gotcha.
But we definitely embrace what you do and become a part of that vision.
Awesome. Is there a telephone number you'd like to leave?
Oh, yes. Very importantly. So 678-633-5121.
Awesome.
606, right?
606.
Goodness, I'm in my phone number. 678-606-5121.
We'll have it correctly in the show notes, so it doesn't even matter. Thank you, Ms. Kemp, so much for joining us here at the Business Authority Radio. My name is Craig Williams, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you.
You've been listening to Business Authority Radio with Neil Howe and Craig Williams. To learn more about the resources mentioned in today's show, or to listen to past episodes, visit businessauthorityradio.com.